What's up? What's up? What's going on, world? Welcome to my podcast. It's Just Different with Ty, where I talk about sports, social, political issues, you name it, everything under the sun. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. This is long overdue. Been trying to get my brother on for some time now. Finally got him. He finally, agreed to come on. Better late than never, right? So I got my brother Kwame here, great brother. Activist in the community, very knowledgeable, intelligent, and he's gonna break some stuff down. So Kwame, please explain to us, talk to me, talk to everybody that's listening. Let's talk about Black August.
Welcome to It's Just Different with your host, Ty.
Okay, first I want to thank Allah, first and foremost, and I want to thank you for having me on your show, and I want to let you know that you're doing a wonderful job, my brother. And you are,
that.
You are a modern day A. Phil Randall, because you're a labor leader, brother.
Love that.
Yes. So Black August, I brought a few notes with me.
Okay.
Black August, it represents Black revolution, Black resistance, rebellion, empowerment. It is anti-capitalism, anti-colonialism, and it's for the liberation of our political prisoners and prisoners of war. Black August, it deconstructs the present police state that we have. It calls for the deunionization of police because police are not regular workers. Even though they're unions, they're not regular workers, and they support the state. So they're workers of the state. They're not the workers for us and you, even though it's so-called coined that way. So these are some of the things that Black August represent. Some of the origins of Black August. Basically, it goes back to George Jackson. He was a prisoner in California. He was in prison for like a $70 robbery in like 1960. And subsequently, he was given a 1 to life prison term. And while he's in prison, George Jackson becomes politicized. At first when he came into jail, he wasn't political. He was fooling around. You know how it is when a lot of our brothers, sisters go to jail. But then Comrade George, he comes politicized in jail. He meets certain people. One person was W.L. Nolan he met, who really helped him, with his political beliefs, and then he becomes, he becomes an intellectual. He starts reading all kinds of stuff, books, Chairman Mao, Ho Chi Minh, Kwame Nkrumah. He reads economic books on colonialism, So he becomes basically a scholar, basically. And so in 1971, George Jackson was murdered by the California prison authorities. Basically it was a hit, but it really he was framed for his comrade Jane McLean, and Fleeto Drummond, I believe his name was. They was framed for a murder of a correctional officer that they threw him off a 3rd floor tier in San Quentin prison. So they basically were framed, but what really subsequently happened was that, as you know, not just back then, but the prison authorities were just basically murdering inmates. People were incarcerated; they had no rights. And one brother was murdered by the prison authorities. So some of the prisoners in that jail took revenge, and they blamed it on these 3 gentlemen. And subsequently, his brother tried to basically liberate them, and he was killed. His name was Jonathan Jackson. His brother was only at the time 17 years old at that particular time. And, you know, they took some hostages. They took the judge hostage, the DA, 3 jurors, you know, but he came into the court and he was strapped down and he passed the weapons to some of the brothers who were actually there to testify, and it was on.
That's right.
But when, but one of the things that, this is what tells you the state, they were willing to sacrifice the judge's life and the DA's life. The judge actually died in the shootout.
Really?
The guards shot up the van that they were in. 4 people died. Jonathan Jackson died. James McClain, he died in this shootout. Ruchell McGee was one of the people who was in the courtroom that day. He actually lived, but he's been punished. He's been in jail ever since then. So he's been in jail for, you told him, over 50 years now. So this is but George Jackson, he was as I say, he was an intellectual, a revolutionary, somebody who came, he came, known to people, right. Not just in the prison system, but even outside the prison system. And he joins the Black Panther Party, Huey Newton in the Black Panther Party, and he becomes the field marshal for them also. Yeah. But I also have some, if you don't mind me sharing some historical events in August.
Go ahead, because you know what, my brother, go ahead. I was just about to ask that. Black August, were these events that happened in August? Was it just this event with Jackson, with George, that you was talking about that happened in August? And why? I mean, I'm being honest with you. We keep it 100. I never even heard of this. So
it's funny you said that, Brother Todd, because
real. I've never heard of this until you talked about this recently, and I'm like, man, I never even heard of this. Why? And again, I kind of know why this information ain't really out there like that, but still, I'm just mind-boggling on why I've never really even heard of this at all. Right.
Well, it's funny you say this, brother, because last week I had a conversation with a few people, brothers who are real conscious, live in the urban Nate said they never had heard of it. I was a little surprised, I thought, somebody you think everybody knows about it. Right. And I was surprised. They said, I never heard of this. What this information's been, kept. I learned about it in about 19, maybe 91, 92. I learned about it from a brother, not just him, but a brother out of Jersey, but mainly a brother out of Jersey. He was an ex-Black Panther at a New Jersey City branch. And they was putting together a Black Panther Party, commemoration newspaper. And basically that's how I ran across it. And, they were having different events, right. In Jersey, New York City, and different places around this. And that's how I basically learned about it. Yeah. Yeah.
But go ahead to talk about, break down the list of old historical events in August, man. Let me hear. So there might be some things in there that I didn't even hear as well. Let's hear.
So some of the historical events of August, the first group of human captives were brought to Jamestown, Virginia, along a ship named the White Lion. They arrived in the British colony of Virginia. At the time, it was the British colony. It was said to be from Angola, Southwest Africa, the port city of Luanda. And as we know, it was a colony of the Portuguese at that particular time. Actually, just want to say something. The United States and the CIA, United States supported CIA operations in Angola for years, actually, and so there's a deep history even with the United States there. They undermined, revolutionary forces in Angola. Also,
real quick, hold on. Now you said that. I'm sorry to cut you off. Where can
no problem.
Somebody that's listening, Where can we
Yeah.
find that information at? That you just said about the United States?
You could go to the internet if you want to. If you want to do that, you can go to look up Fidel Castro in Angola when he brought troops there to help fight the races. The races there. It's books on there too. Also, you can find the information. It's pretty accessible.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty accessible. Yeah. Oh, and Tommy Agee was a CIA agent. He has a book on the CIA, and he documents the operations that were being done in Angola in that particular book, and all of Southwest Africa and stuff like that, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa. Some people have under the impression it was only South Africa in that region, but it was all those states there that would be undermined. So Fidel Castro and Cuba, they play a big, heavy role there. Also, 1831, Nat Turner Rebellion, Iraq, Southampton, Virginia. The Gabriel Prosser, who actually he was named after his surname was Prosser, but that wasn't really his last name. It was just named after his slave master. He attempted a slave insurrection along with his brothers and wife and other captives. But there were people who snitched on him. 2 other human captives snitched on him and sold them out, and they were betrayed. He managed to escape to Norfolk, Virginia. He was told on by another person who was a human captive. They actually told on him. He was sentenced to death along with his brothers and 23 others. We have 1916, a mob of white people in Alachua County, Florida, lynched 5 black men, individuals that came. Actually, they came from 1,000 miles away to do this. A mob of 200 white people lynched them. August 1968, the Newark Black Panther office was firebombed in Newark, New Jersey. August 15, 1969, Sylvester Bell, San Diego Black Panther Party member, was murdered by the U.S. slave organization, Ron Karenga, as you all know him, the founder of Kwanzaa. That's a whole nother history. August 7th, Jonathan Jackson, brother of George Jackson, brought guns into Marion County Courthouse. He drew them from his satchel, passed them to James McLean, who was on trial, and 2 other prisoners, Rochelle McGee and William A. Christmas, took the judge and the district attorney hostage and 3 jurors. While attempting to flee with the hostages, they were fired upon. Jackson, Christmas, Judge Healy, John McLean were killed. Rochelle McGee and the DA survived. Also, the 3 jurors. This act of taking over the Marion County Courthouse and kidnapping was to bring attention to the Soledad brothers. And as I was saying before, George Jackson, his older brother and mentor, Cleo Drummond and John Clutchett, were falsely accused of murdering a prison guard, throwing him from the 3rd tier. This was days after W.C. Nolan, who was basically a mentor of George Jackson. He was a boxer also. He was murdered by the prison guards there, by the reactionary state. The racist grand jury ruled a justifiable homicide. August 21, 1971, 2 days before his trial was to begin, Comrade George Jackson was murdered by the guards, and prison officials claimed it was an attempted escape. He even tried to blame his lawyer and said his lawyer brought a gun in, and he had the gun in his afro. Yeah, that's made up stuff. Yeah, he tried to arrest the lawyer. I think they did try him too. So any prisoner deemed a black revolutionary following these events was placed in the whole solitary confinement, 6 to 18 months or longer. George Jackson was considered a black communist guerrilla, but the state also knew he was an intellectual, a theoretician, and a practitioner of his political beliefs. 19 days later, in upstate New York, the Attica Rebellion happens. And that was in 1971. I can remember, I was a small kid. I remember George. The only reason I remember George Jackson was because my father. And truth of the matter, that's how I learned about him. My father took me and my late brother, my twin brother, which is LA. He took us for a ride in the car. And I didn't know what he was talking about. But he was talking about George Jackson because, George Jackson was, a hero of his, to many in the Black community. My father was very angry. And so he basically was explaining to us what, the events of the time, just trying to us, even though we were young, just trying to, we were like 5, 6 years old, but trying to, instill consciousness into his children. Mm-hmm. As far as Attica is concerned, like I said, it took 19 days later. Attica was a response to the murder of George Jackson, but it also was a response to the lack of human rights in America's prisons. I mean, you had situations in Attica where prisoners were being tortured, stripped naked, experiments being leaped upon them. They didn't have toilet tissue, but when it was they were allocated one toilet tissue paper a week and one shower a week. Many of the prisoners there, inhumane conditions. And this was going through our prisons all through America. So this rebellion, takes place. That a rebellion, they call it the riot, Attica riot. And we all know what happened. Nelson Rockefeller, who was the governor of New York State at the time, he brought in the stormtroopers. There were negotiations going in. Actually, the prisoners, and this rebellion consisted of mainly Black, Puerto Rican, and white prisoners. And I forgot how many days it actually went on. It went on for a few days, though, several days. And there were negotiations. They even had an Attica manifesto. I think it was 27 points, speaking about the rights that they were calling for. But Governor Rockefeller, he basically nullified the negotiations. He brought the stormtroopers in. I believe it was maybe 30-something of the prisoners were killed. Nine correctional officers. I mean, they were tear gassed. They were, stripped, naked, tortured. And then listen, they went after the leadership in Attica. L.D. Barkley was one of the main leaders in the Attica uprising. They made sure that they killed his brother. He was from out of Rochester, New York. And you can go to old videos. Brother was a very articulate brother, had a lot to say, could articulate what was going on, so that's like, I think I told you earlier, we're dealing with a monster.
Correct.
America is a monster, Also, I'd like to say that also in August, we had the Peace Corps riots. August 27th, when Paul Robeson tried to come here. And this was orchestrated by the Veterans of Foreign Affairs, the American Foreign Legions, racist white folks who a lot of them own businesses. Actually, my late uncle even had a video of this event. And I could see something like at that particular time, so I saw the video like 20-something years ago. I was able to notice some of the people who were still living, who had businesses at that time and stuff in this video.
Wow.
Yeah, I wish I could, obtain the video. But Paul Robeson, actually, when he came here, it was also a fundraiser for the Civil Rights Congress. Yeah. And subsequently, they came out with sticks, clubs, rocks, and they came out to do damage. And about a week later, he had another it didn't turn out like that. But I mean, a lot of folks who lived here were involved in this. They tried to situate it like it wasn't a peace kill because where it happened, they've been trying to run that for the longest.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I heard that. I've heard that. Yeah. Wow. So,
free all our political prisoners and also our prisoners of war. Because, there's a notion that Black folks, especially even during the Civil Rights Movement, everybody just was saying we should overcome. And they was doing, nonviolent tactics. There was all these revolutionary forces, even in the background of many of the civil rights marchers and stuff, who had a different tone about this.
Right.
It's just unfortunately that this history is being buried. You can get a book. We Will Fight Back. I encourage all our readers to get this book. And so many others. You know, like how many people have heard of the this was in the 50s, the Deacons for Defense for Robert Williams in Monroe. We started in Monroe County, North Carolina. You know, this was a group of, a lot of ministers and local bits, but they wasn't having it. You know, and throughout our history, when you read about race riots in America, listen, even when we were outnumbered, we were fighting back.
That's right.
Black folks had arms and they were fighting back. Even when they might have got, a lot of them got killed, but there were still some devils who died in those things, those events. So, unfortunately, the state tries to play back. They try to play down Black liberation movements. They try to play it down. This is why Malcolm X knows the civil rights movement leader. You see all kinds of them. You read articles, Malcolm X is a civil rights. And I'm not knocking the civil rights movement at all. But I'm just saying we know Malcolm was a human rights leader. That's what he was about, our human rights. But that's what they're turning into now.
So let me ask a question real quick, huh?
Yes, sir.
Why haven't I can't speak for all. I'm just saying the ones that I've seen. Why haven't any of our why haven't we had any of our politicians, our Black politicians? Again, I'm not saying there's none that haven't, but I haven't seen none talk about this information of Black August when all of these historical things happen with Black people in August. Why do they not know, or they just don't want to talk about it? It's bad for for their image on trying to get votes or whatever have you.
Many of them are aware of it. Them talking about it is a whole nother thing. We have to realize that Black politicians, many of them are nothing but carbon copies of their white colleagues. Basically, they're there to do what I call careerism. That's what they're there for. To get benefits, get a nice retirement check. They're not there to advocate Black liberation at all. Most of them, at least. We could say probably in some way 95 to 90%. They're not there for that. Listen, these Black politicians, many of them, they vote for the same wars that are affecting our communities, because these wars, they drain our communities, of resources. These Black politicians vote for these wars too. Look at the Black Caucus. The Black Caucus was supposed to be something else, but look what it's turned into. But we do have Black politicians. I'm sure you're aware of our brother out of New York City, Councilman Charles Barron. Charles Barron's the ex-Black Panther. He stayed committed to Black liberation. And when you see him up in, when he's state assemblyman, when you see him up in Albany, he's giving it up. His community in East New York has benefited from him, from the things that he fights for. But unfortunately, we don't see this too many. Right. There was a politician out there in this was in the 90s. Actually, he was an ex-Black Panther too, named Mike McGee. He was out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the brother was advocating for what was happening to Black people in Milwaukee at that particular time. Milwaukee was very bad. The conditions of Black people were very bad in the city of Milwaukee. But one of the things he talked about was even Black doctors couldn't even get a job back then. This was in the 90s, the early 90s. Yeah. So, many of our Black politicians, they are nothing but stooges for the Democratic Party. We just got to keep it real. They're not going to veer from the positions of their colleagues in the Democratic Party. And I forgot to mention a significant thing about Black August. What happened in Ferguson, Missouri during Black August was the overthrow in that particular event when Mike Brown was killed, was the overthrow what we saw of the Black, civil rights movement leaders who are basically, pawns of the Democratic Party. We saw them actually getting kicked off many platforms there. that the people in Ferguson was like, you know, many of the people, I'm not saying all, but many of them would say, no, we ain't having it. Y'all got to go. Y'all got to leave this city. Time to go home. We got some new leadership here. Bold black leadership. When we saw our brother Omar Yashateli from the African Socialist Party or the Yoruba movement come down there and bring clarify things and bring an ideology, and also help organize the people there, you know, and put a movement on the ground. And there were other groups. Right. And there were a lot of assassinations. A lot of people don't know there was a lot of assassinations of activists in Ferguson also.
Really?
This is something that's really, it's kind of kept secret. That was a serious struggle because, I mean, you talk about a city that was making money off of parking tickets. I mean, they was just basically taking advantage of black folks there. And this is how the economy was surviving. So, you know, black people, we have to come to the realization that we are a colonized people in America. We always talk about colonies, other places. You know, we talk about colonies in Africa, but we were colonized also. The ghetto just didn't happen. We just landed in the ghetto, you know. So when we see the poor conditions, the infrastructure, buildings, dilapidated, deteriorated, something happened. Somebody got underfunded. Somebody's resources didn't go somewhere. You know, but we were colonized. That's why the immigrants, they come here, you know, from different countries. My mother's from Barbados, so I got to be my mother's there, you know. But we have many people come here and they have notions about us, you know, but they don't know. Because, you know, they think America is so great and all that.
Of course.
But, you know, and some of these same people, America's right in their country. That's why they're here. They've been in their backyard for decades. You
know? Yeah, this is a whole wealth of information, Kwame. Again, man, I had no idea. I'm going to read some of those books that you definitely recommended.
Yes.
You know, because this is full wealth of information, man. I'm kind of dumbfounded that I didn't even some of the stuff you was reading off, I didn't hear about it. You know, I read a lot of other things, you know, and just the things, other things is, you know, it's just goes to show, man, you learn something new every single day. You know,
I mean, Brother Ty, you know, we have seen I mean, we got black political prisoners been in jail since 1971.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a brother out there in Omaha, Nebraska. He was arrested along with David Rice. I forgot David Rice is actually, because he had changed his name. He passed away a few years ago. But these brothers are framed for 5 in the house in like 1971. He's been in jail since 71. His name is Ed Poindexter, Omaha, Nebraska. In Omaha too. There's a book written on them. You go to the internet, you can see. There's been YouTube videos on these brothers. But they've been in jail that long. You know, they belong to the Black Panther Party and the Committee to Combat Fascism. We got brothers in New York State. We just got a brother that just came home in New York State. His name is Janelle Muta-McKean. He was part of New York 3, revolutionary Muslim brother. He went to jail at 19 years old. Just got out. So he did approximately 50 years in prison. You know, he just came home maybe about a little over a year and a half ago.
And what they had him in there for?
He belonged to the Black Liberation Army. They said that they had murdered some police. Him and Sheikh Albert Noah Washington and Herman Bell. You had other brothers. They died in prison. Abdul Majid and Bashir Hamid. These two brothers, they died in prison. Dr. Matul Shakur, Tupac's stepfather, who just recently passed away. He belonged to the Black Panther Party and then the Republic of New Africa. He was a doctor of acupuncture, actually in a hospital, you know, working in the community, you know. So we have so many, you know, political. I know Mumia is probably Abu Jamal, one of the most famous. Yeah. Him and Imam Jamal Amin, H.R. Brown. But it's just so many political prisoners. And we have also political prisoners, white anti-imperialist political prisoners. You know, I mean, listen, you had white groups like the Weathermen. They were doing some work out here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And you don't hear about that either. Again, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. It's the first time. Breaking news to me.
Some of the events that took place, I mean, they actually assisted the Black Liberation Army. You know, what they call law. You know, they definitely assisted. Yeah, brother. So, you know, what America does is criminalizes political prisoners. You know, not all political prisoners were, how would I say it? Some went in jail for political acts they did against the state, and some were framed. So some are actually prisoners of war. But I mean, like, okay, we have the ANC that was led by Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, I believe, did 27 years in prison.
Yeah.
What we don't call his organization a terrorist. I mean, they did, but they fought against the state of South Africa. You know, I mean, you have to fight back. I mean, pacifism is not logical. And I'm not nobody. I'm not no fighter or nothing like that. I'm just a regular brother, But I mean, I have to be real about that. It's just not logical. I mean, it might be a tactic, but it can only last for so long. Mm-hmm. As a tactic, a strategy. I mean, because your enemy, the state, they come with everything. All the arsenal. They experiment on us. I mean, how many, even in prisons, how many, even with political prisoners are experimenting on. They go through electroshock therapy, all kinds of stuff that is done to them. They're, put away from other prisoners, so they can be, because they want to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
They'll hold back mail from you. I remember there was a brother, I'm not going to say his name, but he was a political prisoner. He's in New York. He's been out for maybe 25 years now. But they used to hold back this brother's mail. And they told him nobody loved him. Because they wanted the brother to commit suicide. So they act like the Black liberation struggle had abandoned this brother, which is contrary to the truth. But they just wanted, because they wanted the brother, to, fall apart. And they would tell them, you remember, like, even with during Colin Child Pro Day, I mean, even with white supporters, they would send letters to the husband, your wife is having a relationship with such and such activists.
That's right.
So these people, they dirty. No, actually, they're not dirty. They're criminals.
Correct.
And they're criminals on all fronts. The domestic colonization that happen to our people here is a criminal act. It's human rights abuses, and what they do abroad in Africa. I mean, let's be honest. Some of the people, they don't want to hear this, but we got to be truthful.
Spill it. Yeah, we got to be truthful.
I mean, why is Colin Powell a hero amongst even our people? And even Barack Obama, why is he a hero? These are people who supported new invasions. We know that Barack Obama supported AFRICOM.
That's right.
He did the same thing as his colleagues did in Africa. Actually, he was worse than George Bush in Africa. His policies, very worse. He came into office, did the same, put actually some of the same spy programs on citizens of America, So, having a black face in a higher place many times don't mean anything.
But you have some black people say, that's my president.
Oh, yeah.
He's black.
Yeah.
He's black. He's my president.
And don't forget the other one, but he looks good. And we got a black family in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So they go on symbolism. Yeah, all symbolism. Yeah. Right.
Love that. And they play on that. And they play on that. They play on that.
Even Bill Clinton. A lot of that was symbolism, because he played the, I think it was maybe the violin or one of them things, but look what he did. He brought in the crime bill. which is used against us. He killed, how would I say it? I support those sanctions in Iraq that killed thousands upon thousands of people. I mean, he had babies being born with deformed. There, babies, bombed the living crap out of Iraq. Come on, Sudan, he had drop bombs on pharmaceutical there in Sudan. And we could go on and on about the crimes of these people, So, that's why this whole thing about voting, we could go there too. Because we got some of our people act like that. They act like voting is a be all, which is not. They might say to you too. Do they say that to you? Ty don't vote. Ty don't vote.
Let me say. I try to keep for certain things people nameless, but there was a particular woman from a particular woman that when I put up a few posts and different things of that nature, and she would say, "Did you vote? Did you vote?" That's her thing. Right. Did you vote? Did you vote? And I'm like, we've been voting for how many years? What's actually changed for Black people?
Right.
Even when we had the Democrats in the House and they had to know what actually changed. Can you tell me something? And she got mad and blocked me. But we honestly think that voting is going to change our conditions, and sadly mistaken. But go ahead, have the floor.
Yeah, but you're right. And I'm not saying that some things don't on a federal level and some things do, but to put all your baskets, and it's actually crazy. To put all your baskets into the vote. We had an actor named what did they call him? P. Diddy?
Yeah.
And I don't remember when it was when George Bush was who was running against him? The ketchup man. He was married to the ketchup daughter. The owner of Heinz Ketchup's daughter. What was his name? He was a congressman, but anyway, or a senator. P. Diddy during that year talking about vote or die.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, John McCain. No, it wasn't John McCain, but it's just insanity. Vote or die, and they put that out there, and they try to make that you should feel guilty if you don't vote. When we say we don't vote for the lesser two evils, they try to make us feel like we're doing something wrong. Well, I don't support evil, and I keep telling you, and as a Muslim, I'm not supposed to support these people who are gonna fire, bomb people, domesticate, colonize people. What look like voting for these type of people? And what has the lesser of two evils really gotten us? Really, what has it really gotten us? Because this strategy plays out every 4 years, every 2 years, the same strategy plays out. Nothing really changes.
We vote out of fear. I think it's fair. You don't want this one in. You don't want Trump in, so you better vote for us. That's right. That's the tactics that they use and continue to use.
Trump, as bad as Trump is, one thing Trump got right, and listen, he's anti-NATO. I can agree with him on that. The North American Treaty Organization, I can agree with him on that.
Right.
So, that point, I have no problem with Trump on. I got many problems with him. I think he's a lunatic. He's a racist. He's a white nationalist. But even in his case, the deep state, just on that alone, has a problem with him on that. Mm-hmm. So this is why some of them want to see him prosecuted also, because Trump is not doing anything different than what the script really is, except he's just bold. He's out for it with it. Mm-hmm. He's not varying, he's not varying what the script really is. He's, come on, look, we had many other presidents. What about Teddy Roosevelt? Trump is not as bad as some of these earlier American presidents. These people are outright supporting lynchers. Us being lynched. We're supposed to idolize these American presidents. Even the Kennedys. Let's be for real. John Kennedy wasn't about no liberation of Black people. You know, I mean, come on, things that he did, he was forced to do. You know, like he was undermining the civil rights movement himself. You know, but like I said, a lot of things he did, it was forced. It was because there was a movement on the ground that made him do things. But he was no way about our liberation. Definitely not. Yeah. But, you know, you ain't supposed to speak against the Kennedys.
Yeah. That says a lot, you know.
Yeah. You know, hey, man, some of us had, let's be honest, some of us had pictures on our wall with John F. Kennedy and Dr. King, trying to make this correlation.
What would happen? I know this is off the topic, and I know, you know, just a little bit. I know this is off the topic a little bit. What would happen? Because you kind of said something about, you know, being colonized and how we're colonizing here and everything else. So I always thought, what would happen if maybe not all, because Black people, we're not like monolithic. You know what I'm saying? We think different, everyone got a different ideology, and that's cool.
Right.
But my thing is, what would happen if majority of all Black people in America just said enough is enough and left America and went elsewhere? I don't know, where would that be? You know, Africa, somewhere. I'm just saying, but just left United States of America. What would happen to America? Would they even allow us? Because they know, you know, even with the mistreatment or whatever have you, they need us to keep this engine going. So that would be would they even allow us to go?
That's an interesting question. I think that, well, first of all, we do have small portions of Black people who have left America, have settled in certain places. Also, not to veer from the conversation, we have Black people, you know, from the Black liberation struggle who was put in exile. Right. Also, and, you know, they're still in exile, you know, the ones who are still living. But as far as leaving America, I'm sure that some of us could be successful in other places, for sure. But you have to realize American imperialism is everywhere. You're not going to escape that, regardless of where you go. They're there. America has what I believe 800, if I'm not mistaken, 800 military bases around the world, maybe, or 600, something like that number. Wow. So now, you know, there's no escaping this thing. That doesn't mean that you know that you can't go and do better. And sometimes we do better because we might bring that dollar. You know, American dollarism is everywhere around the world. So we may take our retirement and go to somewhere else and we can live a lot better. But, you know, because of the American dollar has an effect, you know, around the globe. But I know people who have permanently left America. I know some people who have dual citizenship. But truth of the matter is, I would say that we are, regardless of that, we are unwanted force here, and you know, unwanted labor force. A lot of times here, you know, our labor is a lot of times is not needed anymore. You know, there was a book back in the 70s, Who Needs the Negro? You can still get the book. Who Needs the Negro? I mean, my fault. Yeah.
Who needs the
Negro? He talks about this when mechanization takes place, you know. Because remember, a lot of the jobs that we have were in the inner cities in America. A lot of the factory jobs, a lot of those jobs are obsolete now. Most of them, like good part, they're obsolete now.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why you can go to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And if you was in the 90s, 80s, you was on the Metro North, you would see all these vacant buildings. And these are once factories that the workers, you know, these were factories, but you also had the housing tenements. The workers actually walk right to the factory. You know, and these jobs are no longer available. You know, but this is all throughout the country that this is taking place. Whether it's the Northeast, whether it's the Midwest, you name it, this has taken place all over the country. Yeah, but jobs is obsolete. American capitalism took these jobs overseas.
So if there's nowhere we can go, in that sense. Nowhere you could run. If there's like 600 to 800 American bases, military bases around the world,
Right.
and we're in this position, like you said, yeah, one or two might do a little bit better over here, but as far as the masses, that's not going to happen. What?
Well, I wouldn't say one or two. I mean, because
I'm just
there
saying,
are people. I know
I'm just
people who
saying.
have went, and you might do better. I'm not denying that. You know, like I said, American dollar could bring you further. I mean, I know brothers just even who have went to Egypt to study. You know, Muslim brothers who went there, but they can bring their retirement check, and they can sit there and study and stay there for for years, based on not too much of amount of money, but overall. But that doesn't still hide the fact of that you're gonna have to deal somehow. You can't just escape this. There's no escapism though. Yeah.
So what can be blunt, just be blunt with it, blunt as is. Right. You know, a lot of times, when I'm around a lot of people, a lot of my friends, whatever, or just a lot of knowledgeable people, we tend to talk about history in the sense of not so much of even what you was talking about, but we're going back ancient times. And we always tend to talk about when we were kings, queens in Africa, or wherever, kings, queens, and rulers. And how do we get back to that space? Do you think Black people, I mean, I don't think in our lifetime it'll be a miracle if it is, but do you think Black people will ever get back to that space where, other nations came to learn from us, and what can Black people do to get back to that spot? Or is it over? Like, it's never going to get like that.
I think we can get back to that.
Okay. So what we need to do?
I don't have, be honest with you, I can't have an absolute answer to that. I have to be honest.
Okay.
But I think cool. But I think one of the things that you're breaking, what you're talking about, is the kings, the queens, the Great Pyramids, all that. We don't deny that. That happened in our history. But one of the things we don't talk about class structures. We try to act like there was no class structures, no societies, which they were. We try to act like some people did get exploited. It is unfortunately that we don't want to talk about those things. All societies usually have class structures. And this is one of the things that happened during the time of the 60s and 70s rebellions in this country, was that you had two sides. You had Black Marxists, Black revolutionaries, even some Black Sunni Muslims, and then you had your culture nationalist forces over here, right? And they really just couldn't, work some things out, because the culture nationalist is talking about, the greatness of this, the greatness of that, but they didn't want to deal with class structures.
Right.
What happened, I mean, take an example, please don't kill me, Ty.
Go ahead. Do you, man? We being real. Go ahead.
Well, take a country like the Congo, the Congo, Zaire, formerly Zaire. Do you know how many languages they have in that country?
In the Congo?
Yeah, there's so many languages. So we
I would say, I would say at least 10. I don't know. Probably
even more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than that, maybe 100 or more. So how do you, so tribalism also, regardless, we know that the colonizers there and they're extracting as much wealth as they could. They have, Black slave labor there. They've been doing that forever. Leopold, even before that. But, when we have these things, when we have these different, we can't come together, we can't get past, so we have to have some self-criticism of ourselves, we can't skip over some things. These things can be barriers. So tribalism can be barriers. Take a country like Somalia. There's people who kill each other there. They have chieftains, clans and everything, and they go to war against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not to Black Africa, because you can go to, other countries, Afghanistan, they have the same problems of tribal situations, stuff like that. So nobody's perfect.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no perfection. Only, no perfection. Yeah, Allah is perfect. I say that, but nobody's perfect. Humans, we're not perfect. Yeah, but we do want to get back to that, what you're talking about. We want to see Africa free. We want to see Africa control its resources. How that's going to be done. There has been attempts from different leaders in Africa, in different countries, because we know Africa is a continent. True control its resources, which is very important. Because Africa is, as you know, is being raped. Why is the oil, the bauxite, the iron ore, all these things is going out of Africa, just leaving, so, but we have to be real about the situation.
With Africa, how can the most, because poorest, the poorest, because that's what they say, Africa's the poor, the poorest continent, the poorest in all the other countries, poorest continent in the world, will also have all the most natural resources, and at the same time, how does that happen? And I always say that's because you got, colonization, people coming in.
It has to do warfare.
Resources. Yeah.
Warfare from our enemies, and they play upon, and during what they used to call it straight up colonialism, they call it neo-colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Kwame Nkrumah, the late Kwame Nkrumah, actually I was named after him, to be honest with you. But he wrote a book on neo-colonialism. Because now you have put people who look like us in power, but they're still working for the man. They might be billionaires, actually. They might get rich. I mean, like that's what we had in Zaire with Mobutu. Became very wealthy. But that little small amount of money that he gets, even though he's really, most of the resources are still going out. The majority of them are still going out in the possession of the colonizer. So,
So you do actually believe that at some point, African people will get back to a place where we are controlling our own destiny. We are in control of our own resources and building institutions. Like you actually truly believe that?
Yes, I mean Marcus Garvey. Remember Marcus really said, what was it? One God, one aim, one destiny.
That's right.
So we have to believe that. I mean, I'm a realist. Not all Black people are going to agree.
Of course not.
That's just being unreal. I know we always talking about, man, brother, we got to unite, but we're not all going to agree. Exactly. I mean, no people always agree on everything. And then some, some people, during this whole process, some people you're going to have to discard.
Right.
You have to realize that they're not for the liberation. They don't even understand liberation. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert and I understand it either, but at least myself and you were talking to it.
Right.
But they're not trying to be, free this mind. And, we see what we, just by the stores that operate in our communities, the products they sell us, but hair care is $1 billion business off of us.
$1 billion business. Yeah.
Self-hate is
more than I think it's like I thought I saw a report that says 7 billion or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. So thank you, brother. Yeah, it's and not just amongst us, even in Africa, same thing.
Yeah.
Lightening your skin and all that.
Yeah.
Even in
Jamaica, in Jamaica, they doing that heavy. In Jamaica, they doing that. I seen a report on that with the lightning creamer and all that, lightening their skin.
Yeah, right. This is money in this, man. In self-hate. They want you, they want us to hate ourselves, hate what we look like. That's why we so proud of you, brother. You get up there, in the midst of the type of work that you stand up for your folks.
I try, man. Listen, no lie, man. I listen. I see men like you, who I, older and I look up to, and of course, see Double D, men.
Yeah, brother Darryl Davis, shout out, brother Darryl Davis.
Definitely shout out Double D. And I seen men like that just be on the front line, and who Ben could have, sold out to them, but never did. You know what I'm saying? And I seen that in you too. And so I definitely respect that and love that, man. I'm just trying to follow the path. That's it. That's it. Play my little role. Play my little role, man. I'm a bench player.
We were brother Darryl Davis. It was the Democratic Party in Westchester who undermined our brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With some black, even with a black politician in Westchester. So this what they play.
Of course.
But yeah, brother, the struggle is real, brother. It's it's an everyday struggle. And sometimes like people, they might ask the same thing. Ty or Kwame or this one or that. I don't see you. No, I don't join every group just because there's black people per se. Mm-hmm. Because we don't believe in the same thing. As far as, the liberation process, your group is compromised. Your very structure is compromised, actually, of your group. So why would I join something like that is not going to make really much of a difference because the structure, some Robert rules and order type group.
Right.
I mean, like, have you forgotten W. Du Bois? What he went through in an NACCP at the time, even though that's a long history, but these organizations are tied, a lot of times to the Democratic Party, controlled by them, controlled by corporations, also like the Urban League. I mean, let's just keep it real. A lot of these civil rights groups, they're controlled, nonprofits, controlled by the money interest, so they can only move but so much.
Right.
Because
I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand, man. With at that time, I don't know now. I don't really pay attention too much, but the NAACP with my joint, I've seen. It's a sad story.
It might be good, and I'm not saying not just the NAACP. A lot of different organizations. They're good. Might be good people in these groups.
Yeah. Let me clarify that. There's probably good people. I'm sure not probably. There are good people. That's on the front line, the soldiers. But the people that are probably up in the top 10, definitely.
But it's the structures, the mechanisms and structures of these groups. Why they can't, but do something. So because the way they're structured, they're structured they're structured to failure.
Right.
Listen. I can remember when Ben Chavis and Don Rojas was there. Eventually, they were ousted out of the NACCP when they were the national leaders. They just couldn't. The higher ups are not going to have that type of leadership. And that's just kind of habit. You got to go. Sunny Ada Sadiq, Walter Brooks, and Austin.
Exactly.
They voted out his chapter, went after him because he forced them to do some things that they were supposed to do, especially with the about Mumia. He forced them to take a position. The late Sunny Ada Sadiq, he was a mentor for all of us. I'll be pleased with him, but he was a mentor for all of the brothers and activists in Westchester County. He was a brother that was on the front line. You can learn so much from him. He's a brother who was struggling since the 60s. You can hear stories about him, not just locally, but through national organizations. He was always going to see the political prisoners and in the prison and stuff. He put all that work in. Yeah. So.
Yo, Kwame, man, I appreciate you. Thank you.
No, I appreciate
Thank
you,
you
man.
so
I'll
much.
reward you, brother. Thank you, brother.
Bringing this so much wealth and knowledge and history. Like I said, feel kind of embarrassed. A lot of the things you were saying, I didn't even know nothing about, but I'm definitely now going to do my research and read up on these books, man. And get
Yeah,
this
well, we're all like,
down.
this. It's how would I say it? Reading is work.
What?
Yeah, it's work. A lot of people think that, and sometimes I want to read too. I want to watch some NBA, some baseball.
Yeah.
Or just, have fun, but reading is definitely work, It can be tiresome. And then trying to build an analysis. Sometimes we read, but we're not understanding what we're reading.
Correct.
We just regurgitate. Reading it, and there's all kinds of things to read. With your reading and stuff like that. But it's it's work. It's no doubt about that. But brother, you're doing a good job. I mean, because listen, your show is not compromised. It's unscripted.
Correct.
To be honest with you, I was surprised some of the topics I've seen on there.
Oh man, I'm ready for them. I'm ready for them to try to shut me down, man. They do, because just certain things that and because I see a lot of things that's out there, and I try not to always gravitate to the most talked about news situation. I try to talk about other different things that people are not talking about, historical things, current things. Because again, look, having you on here talk about Black Orchids. Now, again, that's something new to me, and probably a lot of people who never heard of that. It's going to be new to them, and hopefully, someone can do their research and carry the torch and carry it on from there, man. And so that's why I love having brothers like you on. But I definitely appreciate the love, man, and definitely appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a month that we need to cherish. It's a month to realize, where we are at this moment in history. Because and just we're facing.
Gotta make this a national holiday. Gotta make this a national holiday for us, man.
Yeah. But a national holiday, right. But a not compromised holiday.
Exactly.
Where because what we see during Martin Luther King Day, you got these hypocrite politicians who come and they come to the especially the Black church.
Mm-hmm.
And they come and, they could be the most right-wing politicians, but they all love Dr. King. And also they love the message of Dr. King. This is the same one who just in your city hall voted for a bill to gentrify your community. But they love Dr. King. We don't got to go far. They're right here in this backyard right here.
That's right.
They love Dr. King. They love civil rights. All this. But no, they don't know. They don't stand. Nothing Dr. King really stood for. They stand for. It's just hypocrisy, really. But this is what they do. They come around, every January, and they, we see them. Right. We know who they are.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's shameful, but it's shameful that we even keep going for this stuff. Like, come on, like, how many times we gonna go for the same trick? Come vote for me. And you don't do nothing for us. You vote for you vote. What you do is you take money from developers to run us out of the neighborhood, to raise rent so sky high that we can't, but we have to leave. This is what you vote for. You vote for environment, plants or environmental racism projects in our neighborhoods, but we're supposed to trust you. It's crazy. You vote for bills to have us in prison, build more prisons. That's why I was listening to a show recently in Camden, New Jersey. There was a school, 3 famous basketball players. Actually, it was a family, the Wagner family.
Okay.
Camden, New Jersey.
And yeah, I played ball with him in at 5-star camp. So yeah.
Oh wow, wow,
yeah.
Wow, I remember Millwagon when I was a kid in high school.
Yeah.
But one of the brothers is saying, he said, Imam, I was listening to it, it's Imam on his show. He said that they built a $50 million high school without a library.
Wow.
Dedicated really to, to this, sports, but the high school didn't have a library, this particular place. So this is what they think of us. Yeah, and then when you make the correlation, this is what Attica was about. The prison movements in this country was about. It was about empowering yourselves. Because even this racist that was the governor here in Peekskill, George Pataki, we're gonna call him out. Yeah, this guy, he was voting for defund programs in the prison when he was the governor. Take away the programs, all these he wanted them all out to prison because they understood that Black men, Puerto Rican men said they were educating themselves in prison. They were getting degrees. They were becoming self-educated. So they had to kill this momentum. So this is what they did. It was an attack on education in the prison system. Kill as many programs. And that wasn't just done in New York State, but kill as many programs as you could. Just let them have weights in the basketball. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, but Attica rebellion, and all the different, this Black men, Black men was coming home after doing the stint, and they talking about liberation. They'll philosophize, they're getting jobs in different areas to help their community. They don't want this, Listen, even as you know, and I know you already know this, even in the hip hop community, the CIA was involved in that.
Absolutely.
The FBI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hip-hop
There's a magazine back in the nights. There's a magazine, Covert Action. I had the magazine somewhere. It even gets into that whole thing. The covert action that was taking place and why the government had to, intervene in that. And have these these different, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, and just have them fight each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as I said before, we're dealing with a monster. That don't mean I don't want people to leave off, and after they listen to this show, they leave off sad and dejected and all that. But we just keep it real.
Yeah. Know your enemy. Know who you're dealing with. Yeah.
Right. Know who you're dealing with. Yeah.
And how to deal with them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
My brother, I appreciate you for coming on here, taking time out, man. You always welcome to come on here and spit some more knowledge.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
One time we got to talk about, one day we got to talk about wars and how they affect our community. And maybe we get somebody who can articulate this point way better than I could. Yeah,
you're doing great. Well, you did great, man, and we definitely will pick that up and have that conversation as well. You know me, I ain't picking and choosing. If it's beneficial, it's history's truth, and it help our people, I'm all for it. That.
Yes, because this is very important. Very important that we know how war, it undermines us. It undermines resources and things. In this country, there's, be honest with you, the anti-war movement, has really went down. And I did say, as the late Glenn Ford from the Black Agenda Report, you said, Black people were the most anti-war people until 2008 when Barack Obama got elected. The pendulum changed.
That's right.
Yeah, it changed all of a sudden. I don't know what it is right now, but we were always anti-American. the policies that they were, putting out there, but we became, I guess for a little while, we thought we were really Americans. Until we saw until we get some Sandra Bland and all the extrajudicial killings that still kept on going on, the same ones that were happening under the Bush administration, happened under the Obama administration, and they'll happen under the Biden administration, Trump administration, the Biden, we the same thing.
Correct.
Yeah. But it's a blessing, brother, to be on your show.
Yo, thank you. Any last words, my brother? Any last words for we what I'm saying? Get up, bless the people. Last words, anything. There's a tradition in Islam about speaking truth to a tyrant. This is the greatest jihad, greatest struggle. Truth to a tyrant. And we also, they talks about how if you don't fight, you may raise your hands, what we call a supplication, a dua, and Allah will not answer it because you didn't challenge the oppressed. You didn't stand up for the oppressed. So these supplications were, it will be rejected. So we always must be, and I'm a weak brother. Let me straight up. I'm not no strong brother, but we do have to do some work. As Prophet Muhammad sallallahu said, either you speak out against it. What was it? Speak out against it. No, you fight against it, speak out against it, or at least hate it in your heart. That's the weakest of faith. Yeah. Yeah. So appreciate that, my brother, and this love. I love you, man. And
I love you too, brother.
Definitely chop it up again and talk about it. Have you on for the war joint. And again, man, thank you for doing this, especially in the time that we did in this short time, man. So thank you guys for watching. It's Just Different with Ties. My brother Kwame Madden. Again, man, I appreciate him so much. So with that said, peace and love.
Peace and love. Shukran. Thank you, brother.
Free the land. Free the land.
Yeah, free the land, brother. Free all political prisoners of war. Thank you.